Hello, hello, everyone. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Today we're going to talk about finding a wife for Isaac. And Abraham was getting up in years. He was concerned. He didn't want to go to his grave until he saw that Isaac had married a proper wife. He didn't want Isaac to make the same mistake he had made by marrying or taking a wife that was from bondage or from slavery. Hagar had he had taken Hagar as a wife and to birth his son Ishmael, but Ishmael could not receive the promise, could not become the heir of the promise to produce the Christ, the seed line that would produce the Christ. And the reason was because he was a child of slavery. He was in bondage. And a Savior that's coming to free people from bondage has to be free from bondage himself. He cannot be born of a seed line of bondage. So Abraham knew this, and he wanted to make sure that his son Isaac had a wife that was not a slave, not in bondage. So he sent his servant Eliezer into the land of Mesopotamia, where Abraham's fathers and forefathers lived, and he wanted Eliezer to find a wife from among his family, like maybe a distant cousin or something of that nature, that would be a wife for Isaac. So while Eliezer's on his way, he's got an entourage, I think about 10 camels, and they're loaded down with various supplies and things, gifts and things, to give to this woman when they find her. So when he's on his way, he prays and asks the Lord to prosper his search, and to he said, when I asked this woman for a drink of water, that she would water my camels also, and I will take that as a sign that she is the right woman. So he prayed a prayer like that, and he asked the Lord to reveal the woman that he had in mind for Isaac, through her willingness to not only give him a drink, but to water his camels also. And so, sure enough, when he shows up at the well, this beautiful young lady is there, and he asks her for a drink, and she obliged him by giving him a drink, and turned and ran and started drawing water immediately for the camels without even being asked. And right away, Eliezer, he knew he had found the woman that God had in mind for Isaac. And so, as the story continues, she waters the camels, and then on top of that, she invites the whole gang over to her father's house. She said, "We have plenty of provision for you and all your camels. We have a place for you to stay the night. Come and join us, And so I don't think Rebecca had any clue of what was in store for her that day. She had no clue that she was about to be given valuable gifts and to be invited to be the wife of a wealthy man, Isaac. But that's the way it all turned out. She found her way right. She almost like fell right into this amazing destiny. But I want to go back to the watering the camels, because many people might think that was just a fleece that Eliezer put out, a fleece, like, okay, if she waters my camels, I'll know she's the right one, and if she doesn't, I'll know she's not the right one. I'll look for another. But there's a lot more to it than that. I believe that it was a slavery test. It was a mentality test. Slaves typically will only do what they're obligated to do. And if somebody asks them to do more, they might end up doing it, but they'll do it kind of begrudgingly. But she did this without even being asked, and so he knew right away, this girl is not a slave. This girl is a free woman. She feels free to give herself away. And so she gave herself away with her actions in watering camels as a indication that she was free to give herself totally to another man also. But going back to the Hagar slavery thing, it was very important that this wife for Isaac not have any sort of slave mentality or slave in her thinking, in her actions or in her attitude. I'm reminded also of the parable that Jesus spoke about the three servants who he told a story about a wealthy man who gave three of his servants each a portion of his wealth. While he was going on a trip, he asked them to take this and to do business with it, to trade or whatever, and two of the servants invested the wealth that he entrusted with them, and it doubled for them. And by the time he returned, they brought back this wealth plus that much more. They had doubled it while he was away. But the third servant, he came in and said, here's your talent, your one talent that you gave me. I kept it safe while you were away, and I hope you're satisfied with it, basically. But the master was not happy at all with that. He in fact sent that servant away. even took what he had away from him and sent him away. But that was a test. I believe that was a test for those people. There was a promotion at stake. And that day there was a promotion coming to Rebecca. She was about to be promoted to being Isaac's wife. And those three servants, the two servants, ended up being promoted, and they were made rulers over cities. And the third servant, who buried his talent, didn't do anything beyond obligation. I believe that that parable of the talents, I believe that was a favor. I don't believe that those servants were obligated to do anything with that money. They weren't obligated to go invest it and double it or anything. They did it out of their own free will, whatever. It wasn't something that they were required to do. They just did it because they wanted to please their master. And the third servant, who buried his talent, I believe he had his mentality was, he said, you're a hard taskmaster. You reap where you have not sown. That means you expect me to give you more where you didn't even invest. We hadn't sown, and you want me to take on more work just so you'll get more money out of this deal. That was his attitude. And the masters thought, that stinks. He said, I'm getting rid of this guy. Send him down the road. But so when it comes to Rebekah and becoming the wife of Isaac, she proved to be just like those two faithful servants. They proved to be worthy of a promotion. And that day, Rebekah, she showed herself worthy of promotion. And she showed herself to be filled with faith, not a slave, not a person who would only do what they were obligated to do. So I just want to leave you with that thought today, something to chew on, and hope you have a blessed day. And see you again.